Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Privacy Huddle. I'm Colleen from Ketch, and this is your weekly dose of real talk on privacy headlines. With me is, of course, the one and only Elisa Hudnick, partner at Kelley Drye, who has some of our favorite hot takes on these new headlines and issues. Elisa, how are you doing today?
Oh, just terrific. We are living the dream.
Always. We have a few things on our radar today that we want to walk through on today's episode of The Huddle. One, Elise and I have not had a chance to catch up on the Secure Data Act, the latest federal bill. So we're going to talk a little bit about her thoughts on that, practical advice to take away. Two, we want to continue the discussion on this demand letter phenomenon, which is transitioning from less of a phenomenon and into more of just day-to-day privacy program management. So let's talk about the latest advice there. And then third, we want to get into our just announced October US Privacy Summit. Let's not waste any time and dive right in. Elisa, I want to start with talking about this Secure Data Act, which is, of course, the latest federal bill on the table relative to consumer data privacy. Certainly not the first. It may not be the last. What is your take on what business leaders, privacy program leaders should suss out from the noise of yet another bill? What's important for the brand of business out there?
So one, I want to say fight the inclination to just ignore, because I know most of us, we've got our plates are overfilled with so many other things. It's another federal privacy bill that you know in the back of your mind, gosh, it's not going to go anywhere. God, look where we are on the calendar. Look what's happening, election year, whatnot. Here's the thing. I think it's really important. It's less about is this bill going to make it to the finish line, and more about what are some of the elements in the bill that actually may have staying power, whether we see it in a future iteration on the federal level or we start seeing some states adopt components of it. And that's really the part that I think is maybe more important from a durable signal and preparation.
Got it. Okay. Are there specific things within that you think people should pay attention to?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So here's where I think the noise will be. The noise will be that there's a huge carve out for targeted advertising, because while it has rights about targeted advertising for pseudonymous data, you don't have to actually honor the rights with certain bells and whistles met. Of course, that's going to run right into a buzzsaw. It already has received a ton of criticism around that. Yes, we get it. Okay, so that's one, we know it. Put that to the side. There is a really interesting concept here that I think on the self-regulatory compliance, like if you are certified, audited, the FTC would be managing it, kind of like a COPPA safe harbor. So let's say a self-regulatory program that is blessed as meeting one of these standards by the FTC, that companies could audit third-party auditor to that. And essentially, that's a presumption of compliance. We've seen that in data security for quite some time. Whether this makes it into the bill or not, I think businesses have been hungering for what is the short form that can tell my business partners, that can tell service providers and vice versa, that you are compliant with certain components. And I really think that there is going to be more market demand and granularity around what can we be audited against and show that we're compliant. And if you put that up against California's risk assessment, we have a lot more pressing pressure testing on compliance, on privacy. And I just see a whole lot more in that direction. So whether it ultimately makes it into a bill or you get a plus factor, whether from insurance carriers, whether from business partners, I think the time is coming not too far from now where we're going to be auditing on privacy standards. Maybe not the whole program yet, certain component parts. Maybe it's your digital advertising, maybe it's your consumer rights, maybe it's your risk assessments. But I think that is coming sooner than a lot of businesses today are prepared for. And so that's one thing I would just really keep my eye on.
That's interesting. So things like the risk assessments bit in Cal Privacy from Cal Privacy, and then this bit in the Secure Data Act are sort of good forcing functions to force privacy leaders to kind of report up what they're doing in a more business friendly format.
Yes, and real. Like you actually have to do the homework as opposed to the Band-Aid window dressing that, I always get this image of like my closet when I've shoved everything into it and closed it and saying, my room is clean, don't look at my closet. And I kind of feel like with privacy programs, it's just, there's a lot going on and we are overworked and we don't have enough resources. And so there's many aspects of privacy programs now that perhaps if you put a big bright light on, there may be some opportunity to improve. And I think this is a challenge for a lot of privacy professionals because at the same time, businesses in some ways are taking resources away. They need to make the case why, no, if now more than ever, we really need to put our best foot forward on some of these things and have a sophisticated program. And those lines are intersecting very soon where we're going to have to do more than the fig leaf.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of the new CCPA amendments in Cal Privacy, are you seeing that happen in reality? People
Oh,
just
yes.
yes.
Oh, yes. So here's how I see it. AI. Everybody wants to be training their models and they want the flexibility to say whatever I need to say in my privacy policy so I can use any kind of data I want in my ML and make it whatever I want. Obviously, that's not the easy answer there, but the very minimum is how do you start if you think you might trigger the automated decision-making components of the rule, what is the transparency that you're already just starting to plant the seeds in? And I'm seeing that start to pop up in a number of privacy policies. So I think that's really a 2026 because you have to have the notice before you put the right into place in 2027. But absolutely thinking ahead, the risk assessments, really thinking about holistically, am I covering all the things that I need to for the risk assessments? So interesting times for sure.
Yeah, got it. Okay, great. So to wrap up on Secure Data Act, no dates or timelines to take away yet, but just a couple of things to keep it top of mind. Is that fair to say?
Couple things to keep it top of mind for sure. I mean, I think you've got some schism between consent for kids and teens, like to the parents, it's a very, I think on the Republican side, having the parents be responsible for consent for under 16 versus the teen themselves. We'll see if that makes its way into some of the state privacy laws. I could see that potentially in some of the red states. So something to see, but yes, I don't think it's getting over the finish line. I think the elements are what we need to focus on and where that might pop up elsewhere.
Got it. Okay, great. Let's move on to this other topic du jour, which is, of course, the continued demand letter onslaught to every brand and business in the US. I need your help, Elisa, debunking this issue that keeps coming up for Ketch, right? Because many brands and businesses come to Ketch because they want to shore up their website data collection. They're getting the demand letters. They know their privacy posture is not quite right. And so they come to Ketch and then they implement our consent management and banners. And then they say, I implemented you guys. I'm still getting demand letters. So can you help me debunk this as to why that might still be happening is not necessarily related to, you implemented a consent banner, magic button, you're not going to get demand letters anymore. What would you say to those folks?
Right. Well, this is big business right now for the Wiretap plaintiffs bar. Essentially, it's an attack on the internet and any kind of digital advertising, and case law is all over the place. So yes, the demand letters are going to continue to be issued and the lawsuits are continued to be filed and mass arbitrations are continued to be compiled. But what is maybe the constant thread in a lot of these filings and demand letters is they're super sloppy. The allegations concern a whole bunch of things, and ideally, what you're doing is you're mitigating your risk. You're not having a language in a banner that is not helpful or a choice architecture in the banner that is not helpful. Those drive settlement figures up. The backend configuration of your tags, what does that look like? That's another area, right? If somebody actually exercised a choice and you're not honoring it, that's another element that drives the monetary value of these demand letters up. Short of you're going to scrub and remove all ad tech from your site, I don't see any businesses doing that. Are you going to move to a full opt-in, nothing's firing until you get an opt-in? Quite honestly, we don't see a whole lot of businesses going there. So really you're in risk mitigation land and wanting to make sure that you have cleaned up all of the unforced errors that can make very pricey cases. And we've had a lot of luck, honestly, with EA making a number of these matters go away where the facts clearly are not what the plaintiff's firm alleged, as well as just like negotiating the number to, it's a cost of business, it's a down number. And then I have some businesses that they are sick and tired and they're going to litigate or they're going to arbitrate. So we've got that camp as well. But I don't think we're in a place where these go away entirely.
Yeah, well, and I think your point too stands because it's just such a cash grab. They are getting sloppy about the allegations. So you may have a reasonable defense. It's just that the letter is scary because it's alleging a lot of things. But if you have a good setup from consent management, from tracker and tag management, you may have a credible thing to go back to.
Exactly. It strengthens your argument.
Yeah, exactly. The other question that comes up too, I think, as folks think about, okay, how do I prepare my website for this and put the appropriate notice in place so that I have that better kind of risk mitigation? it feels almost conflicting or tricky to manage with the existing notices people have in place for CCPA, for example, that CCPA has mandated. So how should businesses think about, okay, obviously cookie banners aren't required in the US, but they may be using it to display notice for these US state privacy laws. Now I have to put some kind of notice in place for SIPA related reasons. Am I showing multiple notices to the consumer? Like, how do I reconcile these for my visitor?
So the key word you just said was reconcile. We don't want to have a whole bunch of different notices. Here's things you will hear from me. The cookie is dead. Stop using the word cookie, okay? Like that's one way you can reconcile. The cookie is like crumbled and it's done, and like put that word aside because it's such a subcomponent of state privacy law. Like they're focusing on sale and share. And certainly the wiretap is tracking technologies. That's the buzzword, tracking technologies. And we're not in the EU, so no cookie. Just use the word tracking technologies. And then have the language that does no harm to your state privacy position while also supporting your wiretap defense. You can do both. Less words. If you have a big old paragraph, you're not doing it right. Mm-hmm. There is a way to be nice and concise, not mention the word cookie, and meet both of those obligations. Can you tell I have a bit of a pet peeve here?
Elisa, your passion tells me that you talk about this every single day. I can tell you.
Just a bit. And then the choice, like make sure, like, do you even want to provide a choice here? Or is it by continuing to browse, right? They have their state privacy controls on the footer of the site. That's a good reminder. Do my state settings on that footer, are they working? Are they prominent? All those things. But I think the question is you have to reconcile, you have to harmonize, and you have to look at it from a consumer journey. That's what the regulators are doing. Quite honestly, that's what many of the plaintiffs' bars are doing too. So think about it holistically. It's not more than one banner. It's one banner. Just get it right.
I love it. Man, to me, cookie is dead. I just love it. And can I tell you, as marketing leader at Ketch, this is like such a day-to-day challenge for us because we are shouting for the rooftops that Ketch is more than a cookie banner. But then from a marketing standpoint, like SEO, search terms on the web, everybody calls it a cookie banner. So we're calling it a cookie banner too. It's the silliest.
I'm on a one-woman show to like kill the cookie. Not the technology, just the word.
Right. I love it. I absolutely love it. Great. All right. Well, that's good practical advice. We're going to keep watching that issue, of course, as time goes on, and we'll see about these demand letters. We're just about out of time. Last thing I want to, of course, touch on is that in the last week, we finally announced our save the date for the second annual U.S. Privacy Summit in San Francisco. So many of you joined us. I think we had at least 150, 200 folks in convene San Francisco last October, and we received such resounding feedback about the program and the speakers and the community that we decided to do it again. So folks, save the date, October 15th. We are bringing the privacy community back together in San Francisco at the same venue, Convene. Elisa, I'm so excited that we had such a positive feedback that we get to do it again. How are you feeling about it?
Oh, I'm so excited. You know what I love the most is that it was the anti-conference. Every single panel was so substantive, to the minute. It got real fast. It wasn't a repeat of all the other conferences. It was not the fluff. Like you walked away having just really good content, but then it was all those hallway conversations. It was the cocktail, it was the lunch. Obviously, it was so nice. It was such a nice experience, but I think that community it was so good. That was my favorite event of the whole year. I'm really looking forward to it.
Me too, folks. So please save the date. We are going to be able to make this free to attendees again. So truly all you have to do is get yourself there, October 15th in San Francisco. And we will be teasing out speakers, sessions, and more to come over the next few months from the Ketch LinkedIn handle. So just follow us there and you'll see all the announcements leading up. That's it. And that's a wrap for today's Privacy Huddle. Elisa, thank you as always for joining me.
Good to see you.